Welcome to the My Voice in Power podcast.
Right, hello and good evening, everybody. I know there are still some people on their way, but we're already late and we don't want to be any later. So we will get started. I have written a speech. I need to get my glasses. Bear with me. Right, so thank you all for taking the time out of your evening to come and spend it with me. I'm so pleased to be finally doing a book launch for one of my books. I would really have liked to have done one for my first book, but the time or confidence just wasn't there for me to do it. Those of you who know me will know that I don't like to do anything small, as I'm a firm believer of go big or go home, although as I heal and grow, I'm becoming more about be big with peace and chill. There's a lot more to be said about quiet moments in life, especially those ones spent with the self. Whilst I still have your attention, she says, whilst being the main subject of tonight, I'd like to inform you of the return of Would You Like a Cup of Tea in October, right here at the Biscuit Factory. More details are available on the poster, which will be put up once the doors are open for your food and drink later this evening. And as we will be partying later, I intend to dance, not on the tables anymore, but I will be dancing. So I'll get my thank yous in now. So thank you to Alex, aka Sunshine Creative Style, I thought you was hiding through there, thank you. For helping me put the exhibition together with the beautiful photos that you have taken, and for creating an everlasting visual memory of the visions in my mind. I'm getting emotional already, thank you for that. Thank you to Lakeisha from In-Law Promotions for working with me and helping my visions to come alive. And thank you to Amy from Free Expressions, who's not here this evening, for dyeing and styling my hair. Her information is up here, along with everybody else's, which you are free to look at the end of the evening. And thank you to Gary, who also couldn't make it this evening, for organising Kat to come and interview me. And thank you to DJ Quiet Boy, hiding in the back there, and to Certain Sounds Records as well for also joining them. We've got a tag team DJ selection. And thank you to my children for putting up with my madness, which I like to call creativity, and all the stress that's gone with this evening, all the space I've taken up in the house with my books and all that everywhere whilst we've been preparing and organising. And thank you for my brother for doing the same, and also for taking care of the food and cocktails this evening. And now, it's time to get started. Kat, if you'd like to come join me.
Hi guys. First of all, Nyasha and I share a mutual friend, Gary, as she's just said, and I was invited to interview Nyasha, and I knew nothing of her work at that point, not her artwork, her poetry or her books. So this was a very fresh meeting, and I'm so blessed for that, because if I had known how massive, how powerful her story was, I might not have done this. I might not have chosen the interview because it is overwhelming. But I do feel grateful that this is like, a fresh canvas for me. So I get to speak to you and ask you questions organically without having known you before.
Yeah, we literally met this evening.
So yeah. So our first conversation was over the phone, and I said, right, I'm happy to do an interview. And Nyasha explained what her interests were: therapy, art, poetry, and then writing books about trauma. My background is art and psychology, so there's an instant connection from the get-go. And then when she posted the books for me in a beautiful package, and I read her story, I was gobsmacked, literally. I don't know how many of you know Nyasha's story. If you don't, you've got to purchase The Voice in Power, because it sets you up beautifully for this healing therapy, and the work she's already done is magnificent, and she's still a work in process. So even like the hairs are on my standing up on my skin, because coming from a psychological and art perspective, she's practicing it organically, not even from a degree or anything. This is just purely her life experience. I don't know how you've done it, but you're still young, you're at the beginning of your journey, and you still are going to achieve massive things. And it starts right here with your local community, but I'm sure off the back of this is going to be very big. So let's get into this. 1 second. Nyasha, you have written from 2019 to present 8 books, including the Healed Living Journal. So just to remind everyone, if you don't know, that's a mixture of poetry, the healing therapy style work, and her autobiographical work. So it's trauma poetry in 2019, Healing in Power, Compassionate Corner poetry, Alphabet Affirmations for Her, 2021. My Voice in Power, the story, which is a key game changer, guys. This is the autobiography. And that was 2021. And The Matrix of My Mind, 2024. My Chronic Diary, 2024. And The Healed Living Journal, that works in partnership with the main book. How are you releasing work at this rate? And she's resilient and a powerhouse to have achieved this already.
The short answer is I don't actually know where it all comes from, and I guess the long, real in-depth answer is that I've experienced so many different things. I've not been left with anything short to write about.
Wow. The poetry that you've done, when was your first poem? And that you performed?
My first poem, I wrote poetry at school, I think, just like everyone else has done. My first poetry performance, I can't remember what year it was, but I was so nervous. And I got on the stage, and it was a blessing because like no one could see me because, well, I couldn't see them, they could see me because all the way the lights were set up. And I just remember getting up there, reading it, like, and then the guy was trying to ask me questions, and I was like being so flippant with my answers. Like, I wasn't trying to be rude, but I was so nervous, like, and then I just come off the stage, and I was in floods of tears, and everyone's like, it's fine, like, you know, our first times were like this, and it just kind of like went from there. And my first poetry book was actually an accident, because I was trying to write my autobiography, and I was getting disturbed by it coming out in a poetic format. And I feel like the trauma was so deep and so raw that it was too hard to put in such a formal manner. So the poetry books were like stages to get me to the end goal, really, which I thought
was the autobiography. It might be this one, and who knows? It might not be. There might be another one later on. Who knows?
The Floods of Tears, was that because the poem was an autobiographical piece as well?
A lot of my work has some sort of meaning to it, but I think it was just nerves. And it's a bit like, you know, when they say like, oh, like people cry over like the smallest things, but it's not really that you're crying about, it's everything else that like you've held in before. So like crying is not really something that's a natural thing for me. It sounds really weird, but I'm getting better at it. But like, it sounds weird, but it's also like really important, like because crying is obviously a release, but that's not necessarily how I go about things. But yeah, I describe my work as my tears on paper because it's very rare that I cry, and if I'm crying, then you know everything is just like too much and something is like seriously gone wrong. Yeah.
I believe you because when I read My Voice in Power, I was speechless, literally blown away. And Nyasha was ringing me to check in at how's it going, and I didn't know what to say because as a black community, I believe some things we still tiptoe around, which is to do with sexual trauma, anything with rape, anything like that, we still tiptoe around it. And there's an uncomfortability naturally across races, across cultures. But I think because of all of the other issues we have in our community, we're a little bit late to the party. I don't know how many of you may feel that, but with mental health in England, period, they're only highlighting and providing counselling, therapies, young people getting engaged in workshops now in recent years, as opposed to this happening standard previously. So a lot of the things Nyasha does in her book is bring up and undress a lot of things that we naturally shy away from or cover up. We're just not happy to have the conversation. And furthermore, it's a real story. This isn't a fictional piece. So, I mean, if you think back to The Colour Purple and Alice Walker's book, the shock factor it had back then in the 90s, and then you read Nyasha's book, which is an autobiographical, so this is all real. It really does open your eyes and make things real. Things that we already know exist but don't want to address. Things that we're too quick to just dismiss or say, oh, it will sort itself out. This is not, we need to change as society. We need to come together and have more events like this. Not everyone's going to be brave enough to tell their story in the way that you have. And not everyone is even going to be able to go beyond that and then use their experience as a platform to share and provide therapy for others. Can you something you said earlier on that I would like you to just quickly introduce the healed living is the choice of the butterfly. What's the meaning and behind that?
So we are always forever changing, and we always go through the same process but for different scenarios. And yeah, it just describes that, from even like the pictures there are showing that story, starting off as a caterpillar, going up to the light where things start to get good, and then you find yourself kind of like enveloped in a darkness, which is where a lot of work takes place. But I've got colour on my face there to show that like there are still bits of you that are still shining, even though you feel dark and you're hidden away in the dark. To then this process here, which you'll be able to see more of later on when we change the balloon display, where we do just fly and grow. And like, I've done it so many different times, but now I feel like I'm doing it more out in the open. Hence why I decided to buy these large butterfly wings and put the wire through it and wear them for the photo shoot rather than just have it like graphically done. I wanted to be that and feel that so I can share it properly with my heart like I have done everything else.
I think, Alex, you did a real justice to the images there. I just want to mention. Is there anything you want to quickly cover with the previous books before I focus on Healed Living?
No.
Okay. So if you wanted to narrow something down in Healed Living, because she covers such a diverse range of topics, what one thing, if nothing else, you would want readers to take away from this book, Healed Living?
I would want them to be able to address whatever it is that's going on inside them for them, so they can also break free of their own personal limitations. That's it, because that has been so important to me. Without addressing anything inside, I would not be where I am. And having a support network is not something that I have always had. So when it comes down to it, you hear people saying, "Oh, you need a community, you need this, you need that," but when it's ultimately come down to it, I've done the work myself. I've picked the bits of people that I've seen that I would like to be and incorporated that into me. I have made me, not my experiences, but the way I have chosen to go in and focus and deal with it. And don't get me wrong, it has not been easy at all in any way, shape or form. And I don't always let people in because it is a lot, which is why I was checking in with you with the books. I'm thinking, she doesn't know me. Is this going to be okay? Is it going to be a lot for her? And I spent so many years just talking about everything that happened to me, to the point I was so shut off that other people would cry at hearing what I'd been through, and I'm sat there talking about because that is just it. That is my life. That has been my life. I don't know anything different, and so it was either work with it and bring it out and work through it, or let it hold me down. And I couldn't let it hold me down any longer, especially as I then started having children. I needed to grow and be different for them also. There was more to that, but I've lost it. But yeah.
You're doing well. Take your time.
Yeah. So yeah, it was I feel like I've been quite high functioning throughout it all, and it has been.
What is it high functioning through what? Because some of these, just in case some of the audience doesn't know,
So
how do you summarise it?
High functioning through depression, high functioning through parenting, high functioning through domestic violence, high functioning through the trauma as it was happening. It's been a real lot, and high functioning through anxiety. And that was one of the things I wanted to touch on this evening, is that my anxiety was actually worse or more symptomatic in a different way as I was healing, because I know how to be weighed down with heaviness and darkness and badness. And as I was undoing all of that, there was an emptiness that was kind of filling, not filling, but that was deepening here in this space. And that then I was having like, you know, real like panicky, like anxiety, couldn't breathe and all kind of stuff like that. And I felt that was so strange. Like, and then you can have, if you're lucky enough to get therapy for things like this, it's been good, but there's kind of like this open space after, like, what do I do now? How do I do this? How do I do that? Like, how do I walk down the street without this heaviness anymore? How do I speak to people with this level of freedom that I am now carrying but don't recognize? And that was one of the parts of my therapy, learning how to deal with positive emotions, learning to label them, learning to sit with them. And normally you do those things for the negative side of things, but I was having to do that for the positive side of things because that's how much of my life had been taken up with trauma. I didn't know how to function in any other way. And there is also no therapy to teach you how to function during that space. And that's what inspired the book.
Can I? 2 points I'd like to raise in response to that. A lot of people, when they start therapy, don't always see it through to its completion because the stuff that comes up is overwhelming and it is unpacking things that you've tucked away in the past. So, like, I wanted to know, like, when you hit those moments, I'm sure you did, how did you come? Would you say there was any particular individuals, strangers, or the actual therapists themselves that helped you, motivated you to keep going, or was it that inner strength that you dug for, or was it an amalgamation of lots of different things? And then I'll get to the second one.
This is why I picked someone I don't know to ask me questions. I think isolation has been my biggest thing. Being away and shut off from everyone and as everything as you can get, because especially as I went on and had children, I was never really like having time to myself because I'm still raising my children. So it's a bit like, it's a bit of a two-sided coin, I suppose. But I was isolated away from everyone else. And even there was one point where I was working, I was getting up, going to work, like sorting the kids out, going to work, coming back, sorting the kids out. And then when they're settled, that's when I'm shutting off and having time to myself and trying to work through whatever it is I'm working through. At times, I honestly don't know how I've got through. I don't follow a religion, but I do believe in God. So, God, angels, ancestors, whoever it is out there, my own internal consciousness. And the last set of therapy I had was group therapy, but it was more about learning about emotional functioning and regulation. So I found that to be helpful to a degree because it was teaching me, and I like to have knowledge about things, teaching me about how the brain works and why you behave like this in certain times and stuff like that, and how to manage other people that might be behaving in a particular way when they're also in that space. So that was helpful, but at the same time, I kind of became the leader of that group, so to speak, because people were like looking to me, and it's like, I'm here to heal as well. Like, but I just have to accept that I carry that role everywhere I go, even when I don't mean to. That is just how I end up being in whatever space I'm in. And there hasn't been like one particular person or set of people, just like it can be anything as random, like to having a quick chat with someone at the bus stop, and that will leave something in me. Or those moments when you walk down the street and you look at someone and you feel like you recognize them and you're like, but like you never see them again. Like all those things are speaking to me, and yeah, like I said, I take bits of people and learn to grow through that. And I think the best therapy I ever had was psychodynamic therapy, because it was able to work with what was going on within me at the time, and also what had gone on before. So it was like a good mix. But no therapy is good therapy if you're not being honest with your own self. And if you're not prepared to be real and raw with yourself, you can't ever expect that from anyone else. And also, even when you do get to that space, you can't always expect that realness and rawness from other people, because not everybody is ready to be in that space or has that in them. But I'm telling you, like, obviously you have to find someone you get along with and stuff like that, but also you're not there to make friends, you're there to have support to work through what you need to work through. And also, obviously, I could be there and say whatever I wanted. I haven't got to worry about who's going to go back and say, like, oh, Natasha said. But do you see what I mean? Like, there can be that element if you're not sharing your story with the right people. And yeah, also, you can't control everything, and everyone's always going to have their own version of you, regardless of what you do and don't do.
You've just gone into some of my
Sorry.
Good. The second point I was going to say, that was something you said over the phone, which was, I have taken time out from therapy because you can't continually do it. You have to provide time to practice what you've learned. Is that right?
That's right.
Have I got it
You
right?
have got it right, yeah.
Okay. And you just explained part and parcel of that already. But my interpretation of My Voice in Power, which is the autobiography, tells the story of the trauma, and in Healed Living, in both, even in the story, you are explaining your thoughts, your processes, how you processed information at the time of the event, as well as after, looking back at events. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay, and then in the Healed Living book, you break it down and you really go into thinking about how you want people to use this to navigate their own difficult challenges. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I was reading, I did something naughty. I wasn't allowed to share, but I did with one person who's going through trauma.
Okay.
And it's really hard to get this particular individual to connect because they don't need any advice from anybody. And I get it.
Yeah.
But she read a few pages and was like, okay, that's enough. But she connected with it straight away.
Oh, really?
Straight away. And for me, I was moved because that means your navigation tools are working. And she straight away could, from the first few pages, could find your self-awareness, basically, and explaining it, because everyone has trauma, but not everyone can articulate or express it in a way that we can connect as human beings to what that experience is. Nyasha smashes it. She really does. And when, again, I'm repeating myself a bit, but when she was checking in with me, I didn't know what to say. How do you talk about such difficult subjects and, not be angry? It brings up a lot of stuff, even if I haven't had experienced some of these things. The way you talk about the family, the breakdown, different traumas, Christmas time. It was really good. And I think you're telling your story from a particular perspective, but the way different individuals, male, female, stuff that I was thinking about when I was driving down is men, young Black men reading either of these books can take tools away in thinking about their actions, what are culturally, how we've been raised, and question it, dismantling it, and how do you say, you know, being self-critical to provide a more healing space and build a stronger family in the diaspora, which is the challenge I think we have had since the Windrush period. So this is a really big piece of work. Anyway, so I'm going to quickly get back to my questions because I totally digressed. A difficult question for you, or it might be, it might not be. Healed living is written in a manner that any individual can have a human experience and can understand two really powerful topics that you cover and address in terms of healing, and it's isolation and forgiveness. For most people, these are difficult topics, but with the experiences you've had, you still find a way to manage. Can you talk a little bit about what you've put in the book to inspire their reading?
So the isolation side of things, I mean, a lot of people say you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't be by yourself. But when you are someone who just you alone has been through so many different things, you're not always around people who can understand you on the level that you need to be understood. Not everyone can help you in the way that you need to be helped. And, you know, kindness is brilliant, but sometimes, it sounds really bad, but sometimes other people's help is not helpful because they can only do as much as they can do for who they are as individuals. And the world gets a bit much sometimes. Like, there's one of the things I learned from therapy is that there's only a certain amount of your brain that's made for trauma, and it's not big enough for the amount of trauma that I, as an individual, has experienced, and probably not even big enough for a lot of trauma that people experience these days now as well. Anyway, sometimes you need that to help put things into perspective. To help
Isolation.
The isolation, yeah, to help put things into perspective so you can process things. Like, someone can give you all the advice in the world, like, and we all probably do it. And you go, like you said, on your drive down here, you have a thought, you're thinking about things, you're processing. You've done that by yourself, even though somebody might have given you good advice. You're processing that again by yourself when you're having a bath, when you're having your evening meal, when you're having a cup of tea. So we still do all find the best of ourselves by ourselves. We just don't always see that. And I think there's a lot of focus on always giving gratitude to other people for what they have or haven't done for you, which is great. But part of your reflection and self-awareness is to also know what you've done for yourself, because if you haven't taken that on and haven't taken the time to research that and look into that, then you wouldn't be able to take that advice on and be able to move forward. Forgiveness. This is a topic that everybody struggles with, and forgiveness does not have to mean that you have to speak to that person again, that you have to be around that person again. Forgiveness for me has been about being able to process things, look at things from other people's perspective, whether it's right or wrong, whether it's a good excuse, good reason, is neither here nor there. People do things because they're going through things. And if you can get past that, to that, and sit with that, and look at things from that person's perspective, that can help you to gain that bit of peace. So you mentioned about being angry earlier. I've been through all those emotions. I've been angry, I've been heartbroken, I've been suicidal, there's been so many different stages at so many different times in my life that I've had to work through. And so it's really important when people say, be kind, because you don't know what people are going through. And it can be hard, we're all human, but I haven't gone out and actively said to these people, I forgive you for what you've done to me, I forgive you for what you've done to me. Firstly, they definitely don't deserve that. Secondly, they will then think, well, oh, she forgives me, like we can be cool now. No, we can't. That's your space. This is mine.
Mm-hmm.
My forgiveness for you means I can grow to be here now. It doesn't mean that you can come back. And that for me is the most important part about the forgiveness. Forgiveness means for you to be able to see something from someone else's perspective, process it, let it go so you can grow. And it is as simple as that, emotionally very difficult.
Naisha, some individuals will read your work and can relate directly to your experiences, but remain in silence, fearful or ashamed about their experiences, whilst others may read your works and find it hard to believe that this all happened to one person. How do you respond or navigate individuals that question your truth?
At first, it was really, really difficult. It was a lot to carry. I'd get really upset. I'd either shout and scream or cry, beg people to believe me. It doesn't make any difference because everybody has their own version of you and of other people. I think one of the hardest things is that I am still living in a town where other people know the people who have created a majority, well, all of my trauma basically. I've lost family members, I've lost friends, all because the people who are the abusers have not been able to put their ego aside or to put their shame aside or whatever it is. They've not been able to step up and say, yeah, look, I did do that to her, so don't treat her like that. She's going to need the support. And again, for my own peace and for the sake of being able to bring up my children, I have stepped away from that. They know who in the town they're related to because they need to know, because it's not always safe for them to be around that person, regardless of what anybody else thinks or agrees with or disagrees with. And I think that's been the hardest thing. I've been attacked on top of everything else I've been through, about what I've been through, about speaking my truth. Okay, they didn't do that to you, great, but this is what happened to me. And again, the only way I've been able to navigate through that is to try to see it through their eyes. We don't see eye to eye, we can't agree to disagree. I need my peace, I need my space, you stay there and I'll stay here.
And this is why you've been gifted with the bravery to tell your story, because again, emphasis on that a lot of individuals won't share. They may do therapy, but they won't share or tell because of the isolation, because of other family members not knowing or refusing to believe that what has happened has taken place. So again, I do feel you've been chosen and blessed with this gift to express yourself, because it takes a certain kind of bravery.
Thank you. Yeah, so there's obviously like a lot of talk on things as well, like breaking the family pattern. And like one thing that had come to light over the last few years is that actually I'm having to break the same pattern on both my maternal and paternal side of the family. So I've lost 2 sets of families in the process, which has also meant my children have lost family in the process. Like nobody thinks about that. And some people who have been, some family members have been supportive about sharing my story, but also it's also been difficult for them as well, because obviously they've kind of indirectly experienced that trauma, like, and there's so much shame and stuff in the generations before that, and that really does need to be broken. I mean, a lot of people try to do things or whatever in the community and stuff like that. The community cannot unite because the community is too busy holding shame and criticizing people and not having the confidence to open up.
Generational brokenness.
Yeah, the generational brokenness. That is exactly what that is. And sometimes it takes for the younger person to do something and go above and beyond that. Like, I let my children come and speak to me openly, and I try not to take their emotion at the time on board, because it can be difficult to separate your emotions from your words. And I've given them that space to be able to be honest. And if we could all do that, there would be a lot more healing, a lot more growing, and a lot more progress. But I guess I've only been able to be open to that because I'm so aware of my own situation and all the things that I have been through. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you some closing questions now, which is nice and light. Someone wanting to write a book themselves from about their story, what advice would you give them? Nice and easy for youngsters as well.
I don't think any part of the process is easy, because you're being real. I always find like the writing is like a release from your body onto the paper, and I think that helps with the process.
Poetry warmed you up.
But yeah, poetry warmed me up. Yeah, you just start. You just write. Like, have a piece of paper. You might draw a flower or a garden. I don't know, a house. Like, just simple stuff, doodling, and like the more you do that, the more you then start, oh, let me like write down this and let me write down that, and then before you know it, you have loads of things written down, and then you have to go through the process of kind of reading through it and then kind of like putting it in order. But it is just, yeah, you have to just know who you are, and if you're writing about difficult things and you need that time and space to put it aside, because when I wrote the autobiography, I've been writing that for years. Like, I keep starting, stopping, starting, stopping, starting. And then when I done it, I gave it to a friend to read, and she's like, yeah, you've really captured everything, but you need to read it yourself, because there are things that need correcting that I can't correct for you and that the computer's not going to pick up. It took me 3 months to be able to find what I needed within me to read through my autobiography, to see what she meant, to then sort it out and then go from there.
Thank you. And finally, so far in the journey, what have you found most rewarding in any of your works, and or including Healed Living?
Most rewarding. What's the most pleasurable feeling from it?
I think it's got to be this evening, and the turnout that I've had, the support that I've had, people showing up out of the blue that I have not seen for absolute years, people I've just met, old neighbours, people I've done workshops with, family, like, yeah, I think this evening has definitely been the most rewarding part of it.
This is just the beginning, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to see where your journey leads.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, as I said before, I'm getting better at the crying. Thank you very much. I'm picking this one because I think this is important to everybody, whether you're a parent or not. Many of us become parents in different ways. Some sadly have been forced into the situation through traumatic circumstances. Some of us planned it, and some of us have fallen unintentionally. I mean this to say we could be taking precautions, but it happens anyway. We also want to become parents for different reasons. Some of us want to love who we believe will love us back unconditionally. Some because it fits in an ideal image that we believe we should recreate, that is perceived as to be an ideal family image. The trouble is, no one can fully prepare you for parenting, even if they are fully honest about the full set of highs and lows, and no amount of money will help with this either. Having knowledge of it all can help in some ways. When things arise, you may be able to relate to it or remember something that you have been told that can help you put things into perspective and help you to find a solution. The emotional highs and lows also impact you mentally, and that's where the struggles are, regardless of lifestyle and family patterns. As a female, being pregnant and giving birth is a traumatic process in itself. The hormonal changes, wondering if your pregnancy will continue all the way through, and if it does, will you or your baby survive to the end of it? Internal organs moving around, how you are mentally and emotionally also has an impact on your unborn child. Then you are facing all of this alone, or if you are with someone and a relationship is not stable, you are still alone. You may have gotten pregnant by someone who your family is not happy with, or that your community is against because of race or religion, which is another set of struggles. We can all look back and wish to be healed before having our children so that nothing is inflicted upon them. As much as I hope there won't be, it seems that there will always be some sort of trouble in this world, and trauma is objective. So living in a harmonious two-parent household, being loved and doted upon, where parents then end up in an amicable divorce, could be the most difficult thing that someone experiences. Whilst in comparison to some, trauma in the world, it seems like nothing, which is why we should not compare. Comparing this dismisses other people's experiences, which in turn hinders their healing process. Suppressing any emotions from any event in life is how we have ended up in a world full of people unable to live well. Right, thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions?
How long did it take you to write this?
It took me about a year to write this one. This is the longest one it's ever taken me, and this is because it has so many like formal things in it to go along. So I've had to do some research and refresh my memory, and it's mixed with some experiences, so you can see why those parts that I've picked are important. Anyone else? What's the next one going to be? Oh, I don't have another book planned. I didn't have another book planned after the autobiography, so that's why I'm saying that. I don't have another book planned. I am going to be taking a break from writing because I have started to do some new things in my life. I have started to become a trainee hypnotherapist. So I will soon be qualified to help everybody with their experiences. To be fair, I'm going to boost myself a little bit. I have the natural ability, I just need it on paper. So
You do.
Yeah, so my details are hidden behind this piece of beautiful work from Lakeisha. So yeah, but the exhibition will be up for a while. There's some information through the different stages that I've been through, which Alex has been there and captured all of it perfectly for me. And if it wasn't for Alex, I would not be on the front cover of the Healing is Powerful book. I had a completely different idea for that. she's posting, I've got this idea for a new shoot, I need a new model. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And then I turn up, and then we end up in this conversation. We start talking about the book, and then before you know it, it's my new front cover, and I've got a new title. Yeah, it's been nice.
A double clap.
I want to know, what was your experience writing this book?
It was hard work, and I had to be patient with myself, because it took a lot of time, because I wanted to make sure I got it right. And so the research for this book was very important, and I was able to then mix it with my own experiences and articulate it that way. Thank you. Oh. Lady with the white top at the back to the left. Oh. So to be honest, nothing really helped me with that during the year that I've written this book, I've actually been really unwell. And so at the start of this evening, I mentioned the Would You Like a Cup of Tea event, which was about people coming to share their stories, and how their life journeys to help them work through their traumas. And I had a therapist alongside me who was on hand for anyone who'd been through anything. I had to put a stop to that. I've had several operations, and been through a lot of isolation periods, because there's not been anything anyone's been able to do. But the thing, people who have been able to send messages, check in, have done that. But I'm aware that I'm also I can be not hard work, because that sounds like I'm putting myself down, but I can be in such a deep space that it's hard to be around people, and I'd rather not put people through that, and then people start to feel bad, and then there's only so much that they can do to help, and then that makes me feel bad, so then that doesn't help my situation. So so any waking moments that I've had where I have been well has gone into creating this book, the journal that goes alongside it, so you can write your own thoughts as you read it. There are also tasks towards the end of the book for you also to work through to help you. That's been me. And even this evening, I've had so much go on, but I'm going back to working with one of my guests here this evening, who is going to be my guest for Would You Like a Cup of Tea? He does a lot of stuff, Health Conscious UK. He's on Instagram, follow him. So yeah, I'll be going back to that, because that was helping, and I was slowly bringing myself back out, but also being mindful that whilst I love to do what I do, I need to do me as well. So I still will be doing community projects, but I will also be taking a bit of a backseat at the same time, whilst still working on my hypnotherapy and being a mum. It doesn't sound like I'm having a break at all. Although, to be fair, my children are now old enough to look after themselves, and they always help me when I can't help myself. So, yeah, you had a question as well.
My question is, where can I find this online? Are you planning to
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question.
I have tried doing an audiobook. They are actually harder to do than you think, because you have to be able to read the whole book in one sitting, because otherwise they say your voice sounds different on different days. So to give the reader the real flow, but I did start it. I have taken a break from it, but at some point I will try to do that again. The books are, this one I kept under wraps. So this one is available from tonight only, not tonight only, what am I talking about? It's available from tonight. You can purchase them here right now, or you can visit my website, which is www.myvoiceinpower.com. I am also on every social media platform as My Voice in Power. There will be a display at some point this evening where you can just scan the QR code and be able to find me like that. If you buy the book packages, all of the information is there, and there is also a discount voucher inside them. They are pre-signed as well, but if you'd like a message, you're welcome to open it up and I'll write them in. And if you are an Amazon purchaser, they will be live on Amazon on the 28th of August in celebration of my mum. It will be her heavenly birthday on that day, and as I feel like I've healed for myself and her and everyone else before me, that's why I've picked that day. This is why we're having a party afterwards, so we can release everything and let it go. I'm going to go and see my brother to get him to open the doors where you can order some food, order some cocktails, and the DJs. Thank you, son. I can see you sneaking off at the back to go and do that for me. We have got, who's going first? Andrew? Andrew's going first, and then we've got a little bit of a mix later on from DJ Quiet Boy. Thank you very much. Let's go.
Thank you for watching. Coming up now are some photos of the evening. Enjoy.